Good evening, everyone. I'm just going to do a quick sound check here to make sure everyone can hear me okay and see me okay. So, I have given you a link to the handout for the class. And so, I just want to make sure that you have clicked on that link and that everything is okay. So, please just double check to make sure that you have been able to click on that link and that everything is okay. So please just indicate that you are hearing me fine and that everything is okay. We're about to begin shortly. At this stage, I'm going to invite you all to just refresh your page and make sure that you are seeing the live broadcast, and it's not, sometimes it might be a little bit delayed based on, you know, when you joined in, you might have clicked on something, the internet could have hung up a little. So you might be a few seconds later. So I'm going to ask that you just refresh your page to ensure that you are fully on. Well, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Flavia. Good evening, Dennis. Norma, good evening. Good evening. Donna, good evening. Auntie Garnetta, good evening. Kimisha, good to have you here. So we're gonna start in about 2 minutes, 2 to 5 minutes. So make sure you download that handout for me so that you can follow along and participate. So I'm just gonna temporarily shift phase here and to go offline, and then not offline, but I'm just gonna take my image off, mute the audio a little bit, and then come back on in a couple seconds. So give me a second here to do that. Okay. All right, I'm back now, guys. Let us begin. Hi, Shanil. Or Shanil, sorry. Hi, Shanil. Good to see you. Or see your name at least. All right, so let's rock and roll, shall we? The topic for today is the 7 keys to getting and staying well. The 7 keys to getting and staying well. And I am Dr. Gardner, Dr. Neil Gardner, and it's indeed my pleasure to be able to be online with you tonight. So, the importance of this class is that it gives you the opportunity to learn some more things about health, probably from a slightly different perspective when compared to the usual sources that one would get. It's also going to give you an opportunity to understand enough to be able to make wiser choices or hopefully smarter choices as it relates to your healthcare services that you choose to access or the options in terms of how you choose to treat conditions that you may have. So, if you have not yet downloaded the handout for the lecture, I'm going to invite you to do so now because I want to make sure that everyone is able to follow along. The handout looks something like this, with the only difference being that instead of having the fill in the blanks, the blank items there, we actually completed those blank items for you. So you'll have the completed handout to work with. So please, if you haven't yet done so, click on the link in the pinned section to be able to do that in the comments. Second thing is, if you have not yet written your name in the comments and you're participating, you're a patient of ours, we invite you to just write your name in the comment section so that we know that you're watching, and we'll use this as our official register for the course. If you're just a regular guest, somebody who is not a patient of ours, and you do not wish to do that, you're welcome to just watch along, even ask questions if you so desire, anonymously if that's what you would want to do. So, gosh, it is. We've had so many of these classes since we've started here. Initially, we used to have the classes. How often did we have these classes? I think we had the classes. I don't think we had it every Thursday, but I know it was at least every other Thursday, every first and third Thursday of the month. I know that we did that for a long time, but I'm thinking that it was um I think it was every other Thursday, every first, third, and fifth Thursday. But whatever the frequency is, we've had a lot of these classes. We've been practicing here in Jamaica for the last 12 years. We started in February 2011, and I suppose each month we had in the first 3 years we had, I think, an average of about 2 to 3, somewhere between 2 to 3 classes per month. So let's just make it easy. 24 classes per month, per year, um, times, I think about, let's see, during COVID is when we switched over to just once for the month. So going up to about 3 years ago. So that makes it 9 years. Let me get on my calculator and give you an approximation because I'm kind of curious to see how many of these I've actually had. So we've had about 24 of these classes for the last 9 years, and then for the last 3 years we've had one class per month, so that would be 36 classes. That's 324 classes. So yeah, we've easily had over 300 classes. So wow, that's the numbers are just racking up. But I'm almost certain that we had more than just two in the first several years. And then we reduced it to every other year when I was getting a little bit older, a little bit tired, and now I'm even more tired still, older still, and now we're down to one. So be it. But at least it's a pleasure. Um, let me. So let's start with the first key, which is understanding the difference between sick care and health care. Understanding the difference between sick care and health care, or what true health care is. And when I talk about this, I want you to understand that I'm simply referring to understanding that the way that healthcare is done is not done with optimizing health as the objective. Anyone who disagrees with that probably doesn't understand the system, and it's not a derogatory position. In fact, it's not even my position. This was what the AMA, the American Medical Association, themselves put forward as the goals for the system, the healthcare system. And there are two goals that they had. One was to ease suffering, and the second was to save lives. I don't know if they've modified that since, but certainly when we started this class, this is what they had as their goals: ease suffering and save lives. And sometimes you may make a decision that is not a healthy choice for the individual. For example, you may need to diagnose them with something, and so you give them contrast agent that itself is not healthy, but it's necessary to be able to diagnose a condition for which you may now have to treat in order to save the person's life. So saving life becomes the um, the main objective, even if it means temporarily or partially doing something that's going to reduce your health level a bit. Same thing with antibiotics. I don't think anyone who understands what antibiotics do will say to you that antibiotics are a good thing for health. Nobody would really suggest that antibiotics is a healthy thing for people to do. However, sometimes you have an infection and that infection may compromise your health in a very profound way. Taking antibiotics may help you to overcome that infection and therefore help you to recover. However, antibiotics destroy the good bacteria within our system when those good bacteria are necessary for optimal health. And so if you destroy those good bacteria, you're going to have digestive issues. You're going to have yeast infections. You're going to have candida and other yeast manifestations. You're going to have increased likelihood of other types of infections, including other bacterial infections, affecting you later on. That's not healthy. But to deal with the current health issue you may have, it might be a choice that your doctor is willing to make for the sake of improving your health. So just to understand us that sometimes we make choices that are not in the best health of the patient. But the problem is that because of this approach, the system that we call the healthcare system, that system reacts to illnesses that have already occurred. And so the people that access that system are people who are already sick. And because people who are already sick are the primary persons who access the system, then the system becomes tailored around the sick individual because they are the primary consumers. And so because of that, the way that decisions are made, they are made to really address illness or ill health, not addressing health. So the system is a system that focuses on the sick, and that's why I say sick care. It's caring for the sick rather than health care or optimizing health, because optimizing health is not the goal. It might be what you would want as a consumer, but it's certainly not the goal of the system. I don't know if that makes sense, but and I mean, if there's anything that you disagree with and you would like to um, challenge me on it or ask me about it, you may feel free to do so. You may feel free to do so. So Dennis asked a question, and I'll pause here to answer it. Um, I'll pause here to answer it. It's hard to say conclusively or in absolute terms that something is healthy or not healthy because there are always exceptions, right? The question is, according to Dr. Berg, he mentioned that organ meats are as nutritious, if not more nutritious, than vegetables. Is that true? What do you mean? What do we mean by nutritious? Are we saying is more nutrient dense, meaning that per calorie you get more nutrients from it? If that's what is meant, then it's gonna obviously be true. Meats are more nutritionally dense or have more nutrition in it per calorie than our vegetables. And what that means is that you have to eat a lot of vegetables by volume to get an equivalent amount of nutrients as you could get from nutrient dense foods like meats or even like sugars, carbohydrates. They have, if you eat something like a yam or a potato or something like that, they have a lot more carbohydrates in it than you could get from other sources of, especially leafy green vegetables. And so it takes a little bit longer to build up. However, even some vegetables have a lot of protein in it, like moringa has a whole lot of protein in it. But the amount of moringa you'll have to eat to get an equal amount of protein is considerable in terms of volume. But if you consider the weight, how much vegetable would you have to equal a certain amount of weight of food? Because if it's weight, let's say a 2 pound steak has a certain volume. 2 pounds of vegetables is a whole lot of volume. You understand what I'm saying? So it really depends on how you're looking at it. Next thing is this. Depending on the organ, most organs have detoxifying roles, especially if you're looking at livers, kidneys, and so on. Those are organs of detoxification. The gizzards, the innards, the colon or small intestines of animals. These are organ meats as well, but they are for excretion. So it is a higher likelihood that some of these types of meats, depending on how the animal was raised, may have higher amounts of toxins in them. So if your animal is raised in an organic way, eating grass, grazing on natural vegetation that are pesticide free and herbicide free, then what you find is that the meats tend to be healthier. And so, in a sense, you can get more healthy, a more healthy diet from eating organ meats that are more, what's the word? That are more organic. Because I used the word organ already, I couldn't find back the word. Organ meats that are organic in their production are usually much healthier than those who are not organically grown or raised. Having said that, you cannot equate meats to vegetables in any way, shape, or form because they provide different nutrients. If we're talking about mineral contents, meats don't provide much minerals at all. You get your minerals from fruits and vegetables and soil and rocks and so forth. You don't get minerals from meats, but you need minerals to be healthy. You don't get a lot of vitamins also from meats. You typically get a lot more vitamins from vegetables and fruits than you would from meats. But you do get macronutrients. You get protein, you get fats, and you get some carbohydrates depending on the macronutrient that you're sourcing, especially for meats. We're talking about proteins and fats. You don't get a lot of protein and fat from vegetables so easily. So that's something to consider. So to say that organ meats are more nutritious, it's a little bit, touch and go with that one. I can't just say yes or no. That was a long-winded answer. But I didn't want to give you a partial answer. I want to give you as complete an answer as I could give you because I want to make sure that people understand. All right? So let's rock and roll again because now we're going to move forward. We're going to pick up the pace a bit because I don't want us to not see what's what. Kimisha, also when taking antibiotics, you have to ensure you get something to protect your stomach as well. Stomach wall as well. Well, okay, so that's not how it works, Kimisha. There is nothing that you can take to protect your stomach wall from antibiotics because antibiotics don't destroy your stomach walls per se. What they do is they destroy your good bacteria. Now, a lot of these antibiotics that you take will make it past your stomach, meaning that your stomach acids won't necessarily fully destroy or digest it, and then it will make its way into your small intestines and then your large intestines, which is where most of your good bacteria are, and it also will make it into your bloodstream as it's absorbed across your small intestines into your body. So that's really where the absorption of antibiotics will take place that you take orally. Now, it doesn't damage your stomach walls in that sense. It's not like a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory, which the enzyme that it breaks down is an enzyme that is required to build the stomach walls or the mucus lining or the protective lining of your stomach walls. In which case, if you take non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, NSAIDs, then you have a risk of eroding your stomach walls. And if your stomach walls are eroded, then the acids in your stomach can eat through your stomach wall itself and cause an ulcer. And so what is done is that you're given another medication to prevent your stomach from making the acid so that it doesn't burn through your stomach wall. They will call these proton pump inhibitors or antacids of some sorts. So your doctor may tell you that when I'm giving you this NSAID or non-steroidal anti-inflammatory medication, I'm going to also give you this medication to protect your stomach or to coat your stomach. Most people think that this means that taking the medication is going to somehow offer a defense for the stomach against the damage that's being done by the NSAIDs, but it does not do that. So it's more of a marketing expression. The way that it's done gives people a false sense of comfort because the medication doesn't do anything to protect the stomach from the effect of the NSAIDs. What it does is that after the NSAIDs destroy the stomach lining, the acids that would normally break down the stomach wall and to cause an ulcer, the medication will prevent you from making the acid, and so it doesn't eat through the stomach wall, so you do not get an ulcer. But you still have an eroded stomach wall. So I hope that makes sense, right? I hope that makes sense. Thank you so much for that question, Kamisha. I wonder if I'll get through the lecture today. It might end up being a Q&A. We'll see. I will make a commitment to you that I won't go past 7:15, right? If the lecture is going on, I'll probably skip a few slides to get to the end. But if you're asking questions, I'm going to try to see if I can answer some of these, because these are very, very valuable pieces of information that we want to be able to share with the public. So, sick care is reactive. And what do we mean by sick care is reactive? It means that in order for the healthcare system as we know it to work, somebody has to already be sick. Somebody has to already have an illness. Somebody already has to have a disease. Somebody has to already have an infection. Somebody already has to have had an injury. It can't work unless something has happened first to cause some measure of ill health. So we say that this system is therefore reactive because something has to first happen, and then the system responds to that which has already happened. If you want to be truly healthy, you can't simply operate in that way. True health requires you to be more proactive in your approach, meaning that you can't simply wait until you get sick to start to make wise choices for your health. It is important that you make these choices so as to prevent yourself from getting sick in the first place. I hope that makes some sense, right? We can't solve lifestyle problems with drugs and surgeries. And the number one reason that people are in the hospitals today is because of lifestyle choices, lifestyle diseases. Chronic non-communicable diseases is what they are called. That's NCDs, right? We hear our Minister of Health always talking about these NCDs. These come about because of choices that we make. What are some examples of diseases that we have because of poor choice? Cancer. Many people think that cancer is a genetic disease. There might be some familial link to cancer, but the number one reason that people have cancers or develop cancers is because of exposures to certain nutrients or deficiencies of certain nutrients that should be in their system, that's not in their system, that leads the body to break down in that way and cancers to develop. What many people don't know is that cancer is a failure of our immune system to engage and to act. It's our immune system that detects the presence of cancer cells or tumor cells. There's a special branch of our immune system called tumor necrosing factor, TNF, that's secreted by certain white blood cells that go through your body, and if they find these cells that are growing out of control, tumors, then they mark them for death. They mark them for destruction, so that the body now will attack them and destroy them. Hence, the tumor necrosing means killing factor. So that's what that is about. So our lifestyle choice is what makes us sick. And if you eat poorly, you're going to be sick. The number one choice that we make for how healthy or how sick we are is what we put into our mouths. There are other things, though, that will impact our health significantly. The air that we breathe. The air that we breathe, if it is laced with toxins, let's say you live in the city and you have a lot of pollution in the air, factories spewing pollution in the air, motor vehicles, their exhaust spewing things into the air, cooking on a gas stove or cooking on a coal stove, spewing chemicals into the air that we are breathing in. These things all can make us sick. And so we have to be very careful, because when we ingest or inhale things or bring things from the outer environment into our bodies, we have to be very vigilant about what we allow into our bodies. Sometimes we can't help what we are inhaling, and you can't walk around with one of those respirators. When I say respirators, I'm not talking about an N95. That does nothing for the air that's going in. Those stop particles of a particular size from getting through the mask. But as far as air is concerned, It still allows, air will still pass to an N95 or any other cloth mask for that matter. You will need a very specialized filter that can filter out the air to prevent or clean the air particles as it's coming through, so that small particulates in the air can be dealt with. Like fumes. There are certain respirators that are required for painting, for example. So they filter out these fumes to allow you to get cleaner air in, right? So that's very important. There are two ways that we think, or there are two ways to think as it relates to health. There's one that is taught to us by the health system of which we often find ourselves to be a part of, and the other one that is based on wanting or having an optimal health. The first we call the illness care model. The second is called the wellness care model, the wellness care way of thinking. So according to the illness care way of thinking, this way of thinking is brought to us by the pharmaceutical industry primarily. And this pharmaceutical industry, the way it does it is through mass information campaign or mass disinformation campaign. I'm not even going to be very gentle here, because what I see the pharmaceutical industry doing as far as it relates to marketing to the general public, especially in the United States, I think it should be illegal for them to be selling products in the way that they are, because they understand psychology. And when you understand psychology, you can work your way around many regulations. So one of the requirements is that they share some of the side effects of the medications, right? But the way they do it is that they do it with a beautiful family in the background, almost always attractive people, people who are very healthy looking, people who are jogging, exercising, eating fruits and vegetables and whatever. This is the optic. And then they will say, with beautiful music being played, uplifting music being played in the background, side effects may include, and they'll rattle off a list. Now you have to understand, we do not make decisions based on rational, generally speaking. We make decisions based on emotions, how we feel about something. And so, I don't know if you've ever went to buy a car, and you go to the car dealership, or you go to the person who is selling the car, and you sit down in the car, you look at the car, and before you even turn the key in the engine, you say to yourself, I want this car. Because something about it, you just feel good about it, You just like the vibe it gives you. And my car, this. This is how people make decisions, most people. There are some people, and it's a vast minority of people, that will have a checklist, and if this car, doesn't matter how I feel about it, if it doesn't meet these things, I'm walking away. Right? And there are some people who have certain deal breakers. Well, because they know that people make their decision based on emotions, that's why they play songs to kind of play on our emotions a little bit, or a lot, so that we can still decide to take the drug despite the side effects that we are hearing. So it's as if the side effect means nothing to us. I think that is very unethical. And they should stop doing it. I'll give one case in point. I remember a couple of years ago when they were coming up with this new medication to supposedly protect persons from a disease that was supposedly going around. I have to be a little bit careful in how I say what I'm going to say, because this is YouTube, and YouTube will shut us down if they think we say anything that disagrees with the mainstream narrative. But nonetheless, they said things like, and this is things that was said from almost every single level, from presidents to family physicians to scientific experts, scientists. to bureaucrats. They would say, this thing is safe and this thing is effective, even though they have no evidence to support the claim of safety, because safety requires time, and this thing did not have any time to be considered safe. And effective, there are two ways of calculating efficacy. One is the absolute efficacy. The other one is the relative efficacy, or the relative risk reduction. When it's about relative efficacy, the relative efficacy, if something offers 1% protection and then something else offers 2% protection, that is 100% more effective than the first thing in relative terms, because it's double the efficacy. 100% of 1% is 1%. So adding that 1% to the previous 1%, you get 2%. So if one offers 1%, the other offers 2%, the second one relatively is 100% more effective. But the absolute efficacy is only 1%. I mean, science is very loaded like that. So when people heard that this thing, and they told us that it's 95% effective, 93% effective, 98% effective, what they're thinking is, they're thinking absolute efficacy. When the term that was being reported, or the type that was being reported, was actually the relative risk reduction, or the relative efficacy. That is fraudulent in my book, because it's giving an impression that is totally not true. So people went around the place, unfortunately, in the early times, believing, and even doctors would say this, that this thing was, 1, safe, and 2, effective. When later on now, after 2 years in, we're realizing how many issues there were. So clearly, it was not as safe as they thought it was. And certainly now we are recognizing that what was being reported unscrupulously was relative efficacy and not absolute efficacy, which itself was misleading. So, yeah. And believe me, I couldn't have said this then, because I would have been censored and shut down a long time. And yeah, I'm not really wanting to be about that. Anyhow, so there are ways that we think, and people can manipulate how we think. And let me show you the ways that our thinking can be manipulated very easily. The way they teach us to think is in terms of feeling better. So if I have a headache, they teach us, if you have a headache, ask the doctor for this or that or the other, because it will help you to feel better. Feeling better only means that you're not aware of the issues that you have, but the issues are still there. And so you feel better. When the reality is that it's a much preferred position to have, to say, what do I need to do in order to get better, rather than simply, what should I take to feel better? You see what I'm saying? How about this one, getting well? Most of the times we say, get well soon, when somebody's sick or in the hospital, right? Get well is a wish. And some people say they wish that they could get well, right? Wellness is not about a destination. It's not about arriving somewhere. Because you can do all the right things and improve your health, but still not be healthy. There are some people who have diseases that they will never get rid of, no matter what choices they make in life. So they will be healthy to a point, right? When the better way of appreciating or understanding health is understanding it in terms of the process, or the process. So thinking, what do I need to do to stay well, is a much more beneficial way of thinking, because it shifts it from the end goal to the continuation. Making choices in an ongoing way to sustain this state of good health or to maintain yourself on the path of wellness. You see, illness is moving from optimal health toward death. Illness is a direction. If somebody says you're manifesting illness, it means you're getting sicker and sicker. Illness is not where you are, but where you're going. And the same thing can be said about wellness. Being well is the destination or is the end point. Wellness is moving toward being well. Illness is moving toward being sick. So it's a directional thing. So if you want to be well, you have to think in terms of what do I need to do ongoingly to maintain myself in an upward path toward optimal health. That's how we should be thinking. How long people live is not a good measure either of how healthy a society is. Staying alive is really a matter between you and God. Because you can make all the right choices and a car hit you down and kill you. Or you're walking and you buck your toe and drop down the stairs and break your neck and die. Or something else happens and that's it, right? Being healthy is, or having good health status, you have more control over, but you can't say that it means that you're going to live long. So the most important thing that we can do as far as the living is concerned is not saying or measuring how long we live, but measuring the quality of that life. Feeling alive is way more important than just simply staying alive. And so simply, the illness care way of thinking is to feel better, get well, and stay alive. But according to the wellness model, it's much preferred to think in terms of getting better, staying well, and feeling alive. Where feel, get, stay becomes get, stay, feel. And you'll realize too that it's a subtle shift between going down the wrong path and going in the right direction. Oftentimes it's not a big decision, but a series of small choices that get you to move from moving in a bad direction to a good direction. Is pain a good thing or a bad thing? There are many people that will argue one over the other. But there is a purpose to pain, and we can all agree that pain has a purpose. It alerts us that something has changed, something has gone wrong, and it needs our attention. But what happens if we ignore the pain? Then something can continue to go wrong, right? So we have learned a long time ago, and this is one of our defense mechanisms, that if we have pain, we need to make decisions to mitigate the pain. However, pain is not without fault, because there are issues with pain, because there are some things that can happen to us that does not give any pain or does not cause any pain. And so if you are waiting for pain to warn you about something, you might not experience pain until it's well advanced, at which case it might be a little bit too late. So you can't trust pain to always tell you what is going on. Good health does not necessarily equate to feeling good. You can feel perfectly fine but have advanced cancer going through your body right now and you not even know it. In the late stages, cancer might cause pain or loss of weight or advanced issues that will make you very uncomfortable and make you investigate to see what's going on. But in the early stages, there might be no symptoms whatsoever. If you want to have good health, you have to make sure that your body is working the way it's supposed to be working. So the function should be good, and the way that you make sure that the function is good is by making choices that will promote a healthy function. Now, we can't always measure every aspect of our health, but we can make choices that we know will lead us to a path of better health. And that is so important for us to start doing. We need to start trusting the way our bodies are feeling and not simply just trusting the way our bodies are working, not simply how it is feeling. Trust function, not feeling. Trust function, not feeling. Very important. So, there are different systems of the body. And of the different systems of the body, these are the ones that I've outlined here. They all work in communication with each other. But there's one system that not only communicates with the others, but controls their functions. Do you know which system that is? That system is our nervous system. Our nervous system, we call it our master control system because it governs and maintains the function of all the other systems of the body. Whether it is our digestive system or reproductive system, it doesn't matter. All the other systems of our body has to have some control that the nervous system exerts over it. Because the way we experience our world around us is through our nervous system. And our responses of our bodies have to match our experiences or match our environment. If I am in a desert where it is 100 degrees Fahrenheit, the way my body has to respond is very, very different from if I'm on an iceberg that is 10 degrees Fahrenheit. Very, very different. And so that difference will cause us now to, if our systems of our body are not responding appropriately, then we will not be able to be healthy or to survive the environment in which we find ourselves. And it's our nervous system that tells us what's happening in our outside world. Through our senses, we see, we feel, we hear, we touch, we smell. Now, as a part of the feeling part of it, there are receptors that are in our skin or beneath our skin that can tell temperature, to let our bodies know, to let our brains know what is happening so that the brain can send a signal to the blood flow, to the organ systems, to modify itself in this way to keep the person alive. So this is very important, right? Now, I want to point out something here, and that is the nervous system, in order for it to get to in order for our nervous system to get to the different parts of the body, it has to exit, the nerves have to exit the spine to get to the different parts of the body to carry the signal from the brain. So if you think of the nerves like how you would think of an electrical cable from the power station to the house, that's how the nerves work. Where the power station is the brain, the house is the body. Now, we have a circuit breaker box through which we have different circuits that will send the power to different places. That's how the spine is. The spine is like a circuit breaker box. And if certain areas of our spine are not working the way they should, it can interfere with the nerves as they exit and create problems for us. So, let me just kind of show you very quickly here that this is what the nerves look like as they pass through the spine. So you have the brain up here, and you have the spinal cord, and these blue lines and yellow lines that you see going to every single organ, they have a blue and a yellow. Each of these represent the nerves that have to travel through the spine. Every organ has a blue and a yellow as we've colored it here. It's not blue and yellow in our bodies. It's just how we've colored it. But what happens if there's a problem in the nerves, in the spine that affects the nerves? What happens if there's an alignment issue in the spine? That alignment issue may cause an interference of the signal from the brain to the different organs, depending on whichever organ it's going to. That organ might not work the way it should. And so it's very important to appreciate that misalignments in the spine can cause nervous system dysfunction. And this is the premise by which chiropractic works. Because what we do is we try to realign the spine to restore proper communication between the brain and the body, which when it is done, the body then starts to heal itself of whatever it is that it can heal itself of. Not every single problem is a problem for which that will fix it, but every single problem, in order for it to get better, it is the body that has to heal it. There is no problem that you have that is something external that does the healing. Something external may help to facilitate the healing, but it's your body that has to heal itself. Because if you're dead, no healing can occur, no matter what you put on the body. I hope that makes some sense, right? Moving forward, this just shows you a little bit closer how these misalignments kind of work. This third bone is out of alignment, closing off the hole or the opening where the nerve exits, and then you will see, as a consequence, the irritation of the nerve and subsequent change in function of whatever that nerve controls. And that is very important. Now, what will cause these misalignments to occur in the spine? There are stressors that will cause it. There are physical stressors, biochemical, as well as psychological stressors that will affect our bodies in different ways. Now, the healthier our nervous system is the better we can adapt to our environmental stressors. So I want to skip over this next slide here for the interest of time. The healthier our nervous system is the healthier, the more we can adapt to our environment. The better we adapt to our environment is the healthier we will be. Chiropractic is one way that helps to improve our ability to adapt to our environment because it increases or improves the communication between the brain and the body, and thereby helping the body to do what it needs to do. However, the adjustment alone from the chiropractor is not the only thing that's required. It is helpful, but if you're not eating properly, if you're exposed to significant toxins, it doesn't matter how much you adjust yourself, your health will take a hit. Now, in our office, we have invested in technology that helps us to be able to identify these issues whenever or wherever they occur in the body, along the spine. And so we have this rolling thermal scanner that we roll up the back to measure the temperature of the skin, and this surface EMG that measures the muscle tension along the spine. Now, a chiropractor is a special type of doctor because we do these realignments for persons. But the question is, what kind of doctor is a chiropractor? What do we actually treat? What are we actually trying to fix? Well, there are many people who think that chiropractors are bone doctors, but we are not bone doctors. The only reason that we seem to work on a bone is because the nervous system interacts or passes through bones that can impact its function. So we work to relieve the interference from the nerves. It's not so much working for the bones themselves, right? Now, if it is true that the communication improves when you realign the spine, then there should be some evidence of this, yeah? And so I'm just going to share quickly before we close off one study that was done to demonstrate the communication between the brain and the body and how it can be impacted by the adjustment. So this lady was asked to wiggle her left ankle, and she did the task prior to an adjustment and after an adjustment, and an image of her brain was taken. When she did the image of the brain, what we found out was that before the adjustment, you had many areas of activity in the brain that did not correspond to the appropriate motion. After she was adjusted, there were fewer areas of activity in the brain, and these areas actually coincided with movement of the left ankle. And so, what we can conclude from this simple study is that when you realign somebody's spine, you can improve the efficiency of the brain to body communication, which is what this has demonstrated. So, I hope that makes some sense. So, whenever you're asked in the future to answer the question, what kind of a doctor is a chiropractor? Please correct whoever it is or let them know that chiropractors are not bone doctors. We are nervous system doctors. That's what we are, nervous system doctors. I have a subspecialty within chiropractic called chiropractic neurology, which enables me to do different things, not just what a normal chiropractor would do, but we work with the nervous system to try to create or effect changes within the nervous system to impact the way different aspects of the nervous system will work. A chiropractor will realign the spine, but a chiropractic neurologist will also be able to retrain the brain. And we do this with exercises and so forth. And so these are some of the ways, the tools that not tools, but the conditions that we have treated here at the office. And these are some of the specific things that we've had varying degrees of success treating. Now, not everybody with every problem will get better, but some problems will get better with certain types of things. And there are some things on here that I've treated for some people and it didn't make one difference. Whereas for other people, it made a difference. So it's not the condition itself, it's the individual. So whenever someone says they want to come in for chiropractic care for their condition, I always want to find out what issue they're having, but also what's happening to their bodies. And I can only find out that out through an examination to determine if there's a chance that I could help. They can have a very simple issue, but if that simple issue is caused by nutrition, chiropractic will not fix it. Nutrition has to fix it. Do you understand? So we have to find out why it is that the person has a problem and then try to match the cause of the problem to the treatment for the problem. This is how we correct things for people. So there are 3 visions that we have here at this office. One is to identify chiropractic identify subluxations wherever they happen, to provide a program of chiropractic care to help people who are having issues, and to educate our community. And this is one tool that we use to do that education. Who's responsible for our health and well-being? The key to success, which is the last key, the key to success in getting and staying well is for us to take responsibility for our own health and well-being. We are also responsible for those who we have care over. So some of us care for our parents who are ailing or elderly who we might have power of attorney over them, so we might be responsible for their health. Or our children, we might be responsible for our children or our guardians. If this is the case, then the choices that we make will impact their health considerably. So we have to make sure that we're arming ourselves with enough information to make wise choices. Please, please, please. I was told that the testimonial page is not coming up. I don't know why that is on our YouTube channel. But if you can check out our playlists and see if the video testimonials are there. You know what? Let me try to see if I can look for it now. To see if I can figure out what's the issue. So when I go to playlists, I see patient testimonials. It's possible that the reason, I don't know, I'm not sure. Please check and see if you can access our playlist by going to our channel, GCNJamaica.com, or just type in Gardner Chiropractic in the search, and it will take you to our channel. And then look for the homepage, and from the homepage, look for playlists. And in the playlist, you should see one of them say patient testimonial. Let me know if that works for you. So check it out if you can see the video testimonials. And just let me know in the chat. Now, at this stage, we do have a special offer for all those of you who were able to stay with us throughout the length of the class. And you're welcome to take up this offer. Now, I have to apologize that it takes a long time to see me. The reason it takes a long time to see me is because we have to examine every person who hopes to be seen. Except for student athletes. Typically, for athletes to be seen, it's a different process, but generally speaking, for the regular population, we have to examine everybody first, and then once we examine them and we know what's wrong, and we determine that what's going on with them is something that we can address, then we'll put a plan together to address it, and then share that plan with them, and then now we can begin our treatments. I don't just jump on people's backs and take their word for it that this is what's wrong with me, doctor. All they can tell me is what they are feeling or what they are experiencing. That does not mean that is what's wrong with them. Something deeper could be going on that is causing what they're feeling, and that's where we need to focus our attention. So bear that in mind. So for those of us who have joined us and you've not yet come in for a new patient examination, even if you already have your appointment, you can let them know at the office by just going to, and I'm going to put this email in the chat section here. By just going online, sending an email to appointments@gcnjamaica.com. Appointments@gcnjamaica.com. And somebody will be able to make a note of your name, indicate to them that you watched the lecture online and you'd like to take advantage of the discount that's being offered. So you do that and you will get that discount when you come in for care. There's no money that's exchanging hands now. There's no credit card information that we need from you. All that you're going to do is you're going to send the email, and after you send the email, you're going to now indicate that you watch the class, and then once the appointment is made and you come in for your appointment, that's when you pay, just like everybody else. And then, but your cost will be only 60% of the total cost for the new patient exam. If you've already had your new patient examination, you are considered an existing patient, and existing patients will get even greater discounts because you will get a 20% discount off the update exam just for being a part of this lecture. You will get a 20% discount off one treatment per person that is referred to the office. So if you are a patient, your name has to be in our list, in our patient database, and you refer somebody to us, then you will get a 20% discount off a treatment. That person will also get a 20% discount off their new patient examination. So even if they don't watch this lecture, a new patient can still get a discount if somebody from the office refers them. And the final thing is, at the end of each phase of care, A phase of care is considered to be about 12 visits, 12 sessions. And at the end of each phase of care, we re-examine you and determine if there is another phase that's necessary. If it turns out that you have another phase of care that is recommended, you will get a 10% discount off the entire second phase of care, provided that you had already done the lecture. If you want to follow us online, then you can simply go to our website at gcnjamaica.com. Follow us on Facebook at GCN Jamaica. Go to our channel on YouTube and subscribe at Gardner Chiropractic. And if it is that you are not yet aware, we have a radio program that we broadcast from Radio Jamaica 94 FM every Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. Jamaica time for 1 hour, 8 to 9, called Back to Health Talk Show, Back to Health. And you can oftentimes view the session via Facebook just by going to Back to Health Talk Show on Facebook. So there you have it. These are the different ways that you can meet up with me. I sincerely hope that this was helpful and that you learned something tonight. It was fun bringing it to you as well. And I hope that you all make wise choices for yourselves and for your families as it relates to your health. Do not let anyone, not even me, take advantage of you. Arm yourselves with enough knowledge so that if somebody is telling you foolishness, you can at least spot it and identify that that's nonsense. Right? So I wish you all the best where that is concerned. And again, if you want to send us a message regarding having watched the lecture, you have to send an email to appointments@gcnjamaica.com. And if you're an existing patient, what we will use to determine if you were a part of this lecture is what is in the chat. So your name has to appear in the chat. So my last appeal to you is this. If you're online watching us, please write your name in the chat. That will serve as our official register for the course and give you the discounts that you now deserve having watched it. All right? So thank you so much. A little bit late, 7:30, but I think it was very useful. All right, somebody says they see the playlist but not the video, so I'm gonna have to check on that. As a matter of fact, let me check the videos and see if the videos are listed as public or not. Let me see. It says public. It says public. Yeah. On my end, it says public, and there are 13 videos. I'm not sure why you're not seeing the videos. Sorry about that. Alright, I've tried just reassigning it as public. Yeah, I'm not sure what the issue is. Yeah, I'm not sure what the issue is, but as it is, this is where we are. So, gosh, it was a wonderful night spending with you guys. Do take care of yourselves. Um, Two unavailable videos are missing or hidden. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. Why that is the case. That some are missing. I'm gonna send. I'm gonna send my the link. In the chat. So this is the link to our playlist. So let's see whether or not it works, okay? Well, thank you very much, Norma. And I had a lot of fun bringing the information to you as well. And I hope you enjoyed your time here with us. All the best, guys. It was a lot of fun for me. I wish you all the best and do be safe. All right? Be safe. And we talk later on. God bless you. And I'm about to tune out. Thanks, everyone.